Hey everyone, Jay Sherm here. I know I haven't done a tutorial in a while, but I have had quite a few people need some help not only creating videos for their YouTube channels, but also taking the audio from the video to create a podcast episode. I use Podomatic for my podcast platform, and I also use Audacity for the audio, and I use Sony Vegas Pro for the video. When I'm done with the video and the audio, I also compress the MP3 audio to make it smaller because Podomatic does have kind of a limit as to how much you can store. So I try to keep it as small as possible so I can keep storing files for free. And I use tinypng.com to make the files, the thumbnails smaller because each file can be pretty big if you don't do that. So YouTube has thumbnails and Podomatic has thumbnails. This website is onlineconverter.com/compress-mp3, but it also has other converters as well. This is what I use to compress. But I'll go through each one of these as I get through each piece. But let's start with the video editing first. That's always where I start. So when you record a Zoom interview, you'll have a Zoom MP4 file. You just drag it into Sony Vegas very simply. This is the whole audio file on the bottom here. I don't like to work with that normally because I like to edit my audio separately. So I'll take the audio of my file and I'll throw it in there, and you'll see it's just me talking in these little clips here. And then I'll take the interviewee and put his in there as well. And from here, I need to make sure that it's lined up properly. I believe it is, but let's just double check.
That was great. I loved it. I'm sure everyone listening enjoyed this as well, and they learned.
So I have a free gift that I give away to everybody.
So it looks like it's lined up. So I'm going to delete this track here, which is the one with both audios. I don't want that one. And what I want to do here is I want to listen to just my audio. So I'm going to click on solo.
And it's interesting you say that because there's a big debate. It's been going on for decades probably as to whether somebody is born an entrepreneur or they learn how to be an entrepreneur. And I always tell people it's a lifestyle.
So I think my audio sounds okay here. Usually I want to edit it through Audacity, but what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to render before I render this out as an audio file. I want to start the episode where I want to start, which is probably going to be somewhere around here.
I want to get to like the root of today. I have a special guest with me, Sydney Clevenger.
So right there it starts. Okay, and let's see if I have
right. Isn't it?
All right. So let's start right here. And I'm going to delete all this. Okay, I'm going to drag all this over. And from here, this is pretty much all done. I'm not going to spend a lot of time editing because if I edit this whole thing, you're going to see me having to edit and basically cut down some of the stuff where there were either mistakes or if it was too long and I had to edit some of this down. What I do want to show you really quick is that I do have these graphics that I created, okay, and I'm going to put this in there so you can see. So this is at the bottom, okay. I created these graphics in Photoshop, and I have another one that I use for myself on the top here, and you'll see that's on the top. So I created these graphics already, so when I render this video out, and obviously it'll look much better when I put this at best quality. I have it at draft quality, so it's easier for me to work with, or I'll put it on preview. And so if by putting this in here like this, the whole video will have these graphics on the top and the bottom instead of just showing us two. So now that we have the audio in here, Zoom records the audio as these M4A files, which can't be used by Audacity. So what you have to do is you have to render this out. So you highlight the whole thing, and you want to save this, of course. So I'm going to call this Startup Journey number 9 with Sydney Clevenger. And then you want to file render as And before you turn into an MP3, you want to render this out as a WAV file. So you're going to choose WAV file. If you don't have a favorites already, you're going to have to scroll down to here to WAV. And in your video editor or whatever it is that you use, you should be able to find this 48 hertz, 24 bit. So that's what I'm going to choose. Okay, it's going to render it out as the name of the file. I always like to add the word audio at the end of these so I know what I'm working with here. It's going to render this out. Okay, and once it's done, from here you'll want to take that render and let's open up Audacity. From here you drag it in there. You have your audio here.
People, and he's a salesman. Or definitely hiring.
We use Trello. We use Trello and Basecamp.
We use Trello. Okay, we use ClickUp, but we do that.
All right, so the audio is here. I have an intro and an outro. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into my intro vocals. I have them already here. And I'm going to put in my short intro. Okay, I'm going to highlight this whole thing. I'm going to do a cut. And then I want to zoom in. And I want to paste. So here you're going to hear my intro.
Get ready to strap on your boots. I'm your host, Jason Sherman.
Today I have a special guest with me.
Okay, so that goes right in, and then I have the outro for the end. I'm going to highlight that, and I'm going to cut it. Go to the end, zoom in once again. Okay, you're going to find the end here, and I'm going to paste a little further away. Got to make sure the music that comes in is at the end of this.
See you in next week's episode. Stay safe.
Thanks for listening. If you learned...
And actually, I want to cut the end of that and then move this up. Perfect. And then I want to lower the volume a little bit because this one's always a little louder. Let's see how that goes.
And everybody, thanks for listening, and we will see you in next week's episode.
Thanks for listening.
Perfect. Now, you export as an MP3 file, click on Options, and then you're going to do 96K PBS. That's the one you want to choose. Hit OK. And I name this Podcast. Save. Okay, and that's how easy it is to take the audio from your video editor as a WAV file because you want to have the best version of it into Audacity, add your intro and your outro, and then you want to export it 96K PBS as an MP3. It's very easy to do, and once it's done, then we can compress it and upload it to the podcast platform. Now that it's done, I can close this. I'm not going to save it because I don't need that anymore. I will have the rendered version right here. I want to put it into the online converter website. And I'm going to compress. It's 22 megabytes as you see. That's a pretty big file. And Podomatic only gives you, if I go into create here on my dashboard, you'll see what you get. You get about 500 megabytes of storage. And if I go, I guess I have to go into media library actually. And you'll see I'm using 180 of 500 megabytes of storage. And that's with 45 episodes, right? So that means I can upload another, 100 episodes or something. So I got a lot of room left. But that's only because I've been, as you see, my files are only 4 megabytes, 6 megabytes. Some of them are longer. They're 30 minutes long and they become 11 megabytes, but 3 and 5 and 5 and 4. The longer ones, as you can see, are the ones where I'm interviewing people and they become much bigger. But as you can see, these file sizes, they're really small, which allows me to really maximize the free plan on Podomatic. Paying Pro isn't going to be that much, but I still would rather not spend any money if I don't have to. So here, conversion is completed. I download the file. Let's find out how big it is now. It's 11 megabytes, so it's half the size that it was. It was 22 down to 11. I just saved half that. So now I'm going to put that over here into podcasts, put that into here. The video, I can render that out as well. I have an intro and an outro for that, but for the purposes of this video, this tutorial, it was really to show you how to get this ready from Zoom and how to put some graphics in, which is pretty easy to do, and then how to render it out and put it into Audacity to upload to Podomatic. Now, the Podomatic, if you decide to use Podomatic.com, which I highly recommend because it is a really good platform and it is free if you're using my method of keeping the file sizes small. So you have a thumbnail, and the way you post them is I just click on Upload Media, and then you can drag the files. So it's pretty easy to do, I think. You want to just drag the file over. And let's say this is the thumbnail. We're not using it, but this is the thumbnail. Drag it over and just click on Start Upload. I'm not going to do it right now, but Start Upload. Once you're done, and I'm going to delete these, you'll have them in your media library. So when you post a new episode and click on Post New, you just select the episode. All right, let's put in some text so I can get to this next part. Click on that thumbnail. It'll be called what you called it. Okay? And then hit Publish. It's actually not that hard to do. Once you have the files in there, you just click on them. It'll be the last image and the last MP3 file that you posted. The video, same thing. You click on Create, Upload Video, and you just drag and drop the video up there. Make sure you drag your thumbnails here first. So let's say I have this as the thumbnail. You drag it up here, and then you're going to download it. It'll be smaller. The difference in size will be much different because when you create a thumbnail in Photoshop, it's much bigger than this. It'll be like 2 megabytes or something, and you'll get it down to 128 kilobytes, and then you download it. This is pretty much the process that I do is, once again, editing the video, taking the audio out by rendering it as a WAV file, taking that file, putting it into Audacity, compressing the Audacity MP3, compressing the thumbnails for YouTube and the podcast. There's also some pretty cool tools you can use. There's a lot of free tools out there. One of them I like, if you don't know how to make thumbnails, is called Snappa. So I'm going to log in, and you can create a YouTube thumbnail. It gives you a lot of examples. You can pretty much click on one of these examples and you can manipulate it. You can change the text, right? So I kind of like Snappa just for the main reason of the fact that I can just get ideas, right? I can go in here and get my own ideas, and then I can go to Google Images and find images that are free to use, royalty free, and then put my own text on them. I can download fonts. If you need to find some fonts, go to defont.com, which is the best place to find fonts. And I tend to usually go with sans serif. There's a lot of cool sans serif fonts here, as you can see, right? And you can download them and install them onto your computer and use them in your Photoshop program. So there's a lot of cool tools out there, right? So you might as well use them. Snappa is a good one, snappa.com. I also like using otter.ai. Otter.ai is a free tool where you can play your podcast episode over here. So if I go to the main podcast page, right, and I click on, let's do my podcast, and let's just say I click on play this episode, right, and I click on record, it'll start recording the text from the podcast episode automatically, and then I can export this text into a notepad, and I put it into Google Drive, into a Google Doc, and I can, from there, edit the file, and then I can put it into my blog, which I do, and then I put it onto Medium as well. So let's go into my blog, and you can see the last episode I did, Why Bitcoin is Going Bananas. I posted the thumbnail, a paragraph explainer, the podcast episode embedded, the video episode embedded, and then the transcript from the podcast right there. And it's so easy to do if you're using otter.ai, and if you're taking the podcast audio from the video, you're saving time there too. The thumbnail you use for both. I mean, this is how you do it. It's really not that hard to do. I also post these on medium.com. And if you guys have any questions about the process, I mean, I think I went over everything and the tools that you should be using and how you should be doing it. If you have questions, leave me a comment. And as always, I will get back to you and answer your questions. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you guys in my next episode.